Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited for today's video because it's actually a recommendations video, but also we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite things ever, my Kindle. I get a lot of DMs and just questions about one, like how I choose between reading books, getting a paperback or like a hardcover, or reading and downloading it on my Kindle. So we're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna give you a bunch of Kindle Unlimited recs that I've read recently, in the past, popular ones you can get to download for free, and just like some of my pros and cons of my Kindle. I've made a video like this. I don't know how long it's been, so this is just like an updated one. I've been using or making sure I use my Kindle more frequently because you do pay like monthly for it, but there's a lot of perks, so I do love my Kindle. So I think I'm going to start with the pros and the cons, how I choose what books to get on my Kindle versus real books, and just like everything about my Kindle, and then we'll get into the recommendations that I have and the books that I've read on it that I think are worth downloading and checking out. To start off, I got this for my birthday, not this past birthday, last year, and I remember, has it been 2 years now? I think it's been over a year. Anyway, I got this as a gift, so I don't know exactly which one it is. I've tried to figure it out multiple times on my Amazon, on my like actual Kindle settings. Like I don't know, like it doesn't say, but I believe I've like looked it up, and I think this is a Kindle Paperwhite. It doesn't have color, like it's black and white. It's not the most expensive one. That's what I know. With the Kindle, if you don't know, it connects to Amazon. It can also connect to your Goodreads, which is like literally my favorite thing ever, because when I'm reading on here, when I'm done with a book, it'll like update on my Goodreads that I'm done with it. If I start a book, it updates on my Goodreads I'm currently reading it. I could rate it when I'm done on here. You have to connect to Wi-Fi to like download it, but you can be off of Wi-Fi as long as your book is downloaded. You can read it. So we'll get into the pros of that. It's connected to all those things. You pay it monthly. I think it's like $10-ish monthly. You get books for either a discounted price or completely free, which means Kindle Unlimited, so you can download them for free, which is one of my favorite parts. If I see a book that's like hyped and I'm not ready, like I don't know if I don't want to buy it or anything, like I'll download it for free, try it out there. There's also a Kindle app on the phone. You have all the books that you have on your Kindle and stuff on your phone, and I have recently absolutely loved downloading books on my Kindle, and if my Kindle's dead or whatever, reading it on my phone. It's just so convenient because at this point we all know I'm like addicted to my phone, so I'm always on it, and if I feel like I need to start a new book or read a book or whatever, like it's in my hands, and it's literally so convenient. That's my favorite thing. One of my most favorite pro of the Kindle is how convenient it is traveling. Again, you need to have a book downloaded, but if you don't have Wi-Fi, if you're like on an airplane or whatever, reading on a Kindle just feels so much more convenient. Packing it and stuff, like books are heavy, they're bulky, they're just like, you know. Also at night, reading in my bed is just so, it's hard to hold a book in your bed, get comfortable before bed. That's my favorite time to read, is before I go to sleep. So having your Kindle, it's like holding like a phone basically, or if you read on your phone, it's just like so much easier, especially you don't need the lights on. Those are like my most favorite pros. Convenience is like the biggest one, and then a con of it is literally the only con I have of my Kindle, the fact that I'll read a good book or I'll get a book on here and I don't have the physical copy, and I'm like, oh, it's on my Kindle. I also forget some of the books that I read on my Kindle, and then I like go to like get the book and it's like, oh, I don't have it. So sometimes, like one of my favorite books I read on my Kindle was Kindle Unlimited that we'll talk about, and I ended up buying the actual paperback book of it because I loved it so much. But that's also a good thing. You can try out books for free on here, and if you end up loving it, you can get the real paperback. So you know, it's like a win-win. One con I will say that is kind of iffy for me, and I don't know if I can change this, I just never tried, is that when you're not on your Kindle, it just shows random books. I think it gives you books that it would recommend to you, so usually I just get like romance books on like the cover, but it's always random, and like 9 times out of 10 it's a random like guy's face or someone's face, or like the weirdest covers ever. And like I'll leave my Kindle like in my kitchen or something, and then I realize, oh, my brother could pass that, or my mom could pass that, and just be like, what is she reading? But like I'm not reading it, it's just like on, it just comes up. Also, I realized more recently with my Kindle, I have all the books that are downloaded, and I think I have too many in my library, and I didn't know there was like a limit, at least the one that I have. I don't know if I could like purchase more space or something, but I've realized when I download a new book now, I have to get rid of one that's in my library, and it doesn't really affect anything, but I have to like keep swapping books out because of that. And even if I delete a book on my Kindle though, all of like the highlighting parts on there will be on my Goodreads. Like it still like keeps my updated ratings and everything, it just like it gets rid of it in my library, which is kind of annoying. That's like majority pros and cons for me. I don't really have many cons of the Kindle. I absolutely love it, but deciding whether I want to get the paperback version or reading on the Kindle, it honestly just purely depends. If I want the paperback book on my bookshelves, if I think the cover is cute, if I just, sometimes I'll just like see a book recommendation, and the first thing I do is look on Amazon if it's Kindle Unlimited, and if it is, usually I'll download it on my Kindle. But if I want the paperback of it and I want the physical copy of the book, I don't know, there's just this like, I'll see the book and I'll just like know if I want, I don't know, it's something in my head. But if it's Kindle Unlimited, most of the time I will download it on my Kindle. If not Kindle Unlimited, I usually just get the book paperback. It's just like, it depends. Sometimes it's discounted, so it's cheaper on the Kindle, so I'll do that. But most of the time, if I just want the paperback like for my bookshelf to like hold and like, read the story that way, which is majority of the time, I'll get the paperback, the hardcover or whatever. And honestly, it's aesthetic reasons. I just like my bookshelves to have like the book on it. I will download on my Kindle if I see that it's Kindle Unlimited and I feel like I just want to read it like right now. I don't have time to like Amazon it, go to Barnes, like anything like that. Like if I just feel like it's more convenient, Kindle Unlimited, I'll download it on here. I've gotten into this thing where if it's not Kindle Unlimited, I'll just get the paperback. I feel like I use this more, and I use the perks of the Kindle Unlimited and free books much more than I would buy a book on here. I just feel like if I'm gonna buy the book, if it's not like too discounted, if I'm gonna buy the book, I'll get the paperback. But sometimes there's a book that's like $17, $18 and on here it's like $11, which I know isn't a big difference, but sometimes, you know, books and the prices of books add up when you're buying so many, and I feel like I do buy a lot of books, so sometimes the discount is just, I like that. But also, I'm not really big into annotating books that much anymore. It's just like when I feel like I want to underline something, I will. I've kind of just like fallen out of that. I don't know, but when I was really into annotating, I wouldn't use my Kindle as much because I feel like I really wanted the paperback to like use my colors and highlight and stuff. In the Kindle, you can highlight, you can note, you can tab a page and stuff, but like I feel like having that book and having it annotated is just like so much more, I don't know, I just like it a lot more in paperback, but like I don't really annotate that much anymore. So for me, it's just, if I want it Kindle Unlimited, if it's free, I'll read it on here. If I love it, I'll get the paperback. So that's what's been happening. I've been trying to use this Kindle, reading at least like 2 books a month on my Kindle, because I pay it monthly, like I don't want to waste the money, so I do try to use it as much as I can. That's all about my Kindle. I'm not gonna lie, I read 1 book on my Kindle recently, but all of the rest have been on my phone. I have been big on reading on my phone, and it's been fun, it's been easy to do, and it's just like, I'm just anywhere. I could be literally, I don't know, online at Starbucks, and I could just whip out my phone and start reading, which I know is, I think it's fine. Anyway, here are some books that I read personally on my Kindle. I don't know if they changed some of them, because when I got my Kindle, I think it's been 2 years now, a lot of books were Kindle Unlimited and now they're not. So I'm gonna read off the ones that I got Kindle Unlimited, tell you about them. These are all the ones that I liked. I've read some on my Kindle that I didn't like, so I'm not gonna tell you about them. There's not books that I would recommend, I just didn't like them, so that's that. We're gonna talk about some that I also read this month before my wrap-up comes out, so you are getting a little sneak peek into books that I read, and they're actually very good recommendations. I'm also gonna check while I'm doing this if they're still Kindle Unlimited, because I'm not going to recommend if they're not Kindle Unlimited. This is strictly Kindle Unlimited book, because that's perk of Kindles. First one I most recently read, it was in a reading vlog that I don't know if it's out before this. I don't know. It's called Mary Jane. It's just a literary fiction book. It was not too long, which was amazing, but I saw a few people recommending it. They loved it. As we know, literary fiction is either hit or miss for me, so I always get a little cautious going into them, but this one I gave 5 stars. I was obsessed with it. It's basically just a story about a 14-year-old girl. It takes place in the 1970s. She grows up in this kind of like religious, very strict household with her parents, but she gets a summer job nannying for family kind of like down the street, and their house is very unorthodox, very crazy, messy, and she nannies the child Izzy. And then the father is a psychiatrist, and he has this kind of famous rock and roll guy and his husband come get treatment for the summer, so she's in that house all summer with all of these people, and she's kind of bringing stuff that she's learned from her mom in the strict, very precise household and bringing like more order into their house, and they're teaching her how to like think for herself, and it's kind of like coming of age, very character driven, but I loved every single character. I mean, didn't love her parents, but all the characters in that house I became like really connected to, and I loved it so much. That was a really good one. I loved this book. All right, another Kindle Unlimited that I most recently read this month was called Say You Swear by, I think it's Megan Brandy. I got this recommended to me so many times. This one is about a girl who has always had feelings for her brother's best friend, and they spend summers at their family's like beach house that they parents have like given them. So it's like their last summer there before they start college. They're all going to the same college. There's a lot of characters in here, and at the very beginning I was so confused with who is who. There's not very much backstory right away. You get right into the story and all these names are getting thrown at you, so that was a little confusing, but like you get to understand all of them. But she has a thing for her brother's best friend, and then something happens with them that summer. They stop talking. Kind of like affects their friend group because her brother is very protective over her. They're on the football team at the new college. Her best friend is part of the friend group, so they all go to college, and her and the brother's best friend just stop talking. Kind of like ruins the friend group a little. But that summer she met another one of her brother and his friend's teammates. They kind of spark this love interest and whatever, and then the brother's best friend comes back in the picture, and then something happens at the end that I just did not expect at all, and it just kind of like gives a whole new point to the story, and it's absolutely crazy, a little heartbreaking, really good love story. I will say some parts kind of dragged on for me. Like, it's a really long book, and I feel like it could have been condensed, but I did love the story, so it was nice to continue reading it. The Mindfuck series. Now, this is a series. Clearly, I gave this 5 stars, the whole series. I was obsessed with it. You could either read it as a series, so there's 5 books, and they're all about like 100-ish pages. They're really short, really quick to get through, and each book leaves you off on a cliffhanger, so you want to start the next one. Or you can get the full Mindfuck book. That's like, I think like 7-ish hundred pages. I don't know. You can get the book or you can read it in a series. I read it as a series. It made me feel really accomplished finishing the one book and going to the next one, even though it was like 100 pages. It was so quick. It reminded me a lot of Criminal Minds mixed with like a love story, which was like two things that I love. Definitely check the trigger warnings. It's very intense, but it's about Lana, who is a serial killer, and she has like traumatic past and all this stuff, and then she meets Logan, who is a profiler for the FBI, and they spark something, and he is on a bunch of cases that you see, but he's also on the case of Lana's killing, so you see them like romantically connecting, but then you see what she's doing, and you see him trying to figure out who's killing these people, and it's like really intense, really crazy. I loved it. I loved the romance. I loved the thriller mystery craziness of it, and it kept me on my toes. It kept me entertained, and I was obsessed. And then when I saw there was Kindle Unlimited, because I got this recommended to me a lot too, I was like so excited. I was like, okay, all 5 of these are Kindle Unlimited. I'm gonna download all of them, and I was obsessed. Kind of like the opposite of that book is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This book is such a lighthearted, close the door romance, meaning there's like no explicit scenes. It's very cheesy. So if you're looking for a love story that is just completely just happy, I don't know, I enjoyed it. I feel like when I read this book, I needed romance like this, and I feel like I really hit the spot. So this is basically about, I forgot their name, I think it was Nathan and Bree. Nathan is an NFL player, and Bree is his like longtime best friend. Bree is like a ballerina. I'm pretty sure they strike up a deal to like fake date, and then they have feelings for each other, so you see their feelings interfere. No one wants to admit it, but it's just like a really sweet romance. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cute. If you want more intense romances, this probably isn't for you. If you want more of like an uplifting, happy, easy read, this is probably for you. And it was good for when I read it. Then I read a bunch of Colleen Hoover books on my Kindle. When I found out about Colleen Hoover so long ago, like 2.5 years ago, I read It Ends With Us. It's the first book I read by her, and it's so crazy seeing so many people read it now. It's like everyone's finding their love for Colleen, and I'm just like, where have y'all been? But not in a negative way. I'm so happy everyone is reading the book now. But I remember reading it and I was like, I loved it. I loved her writing. So I looked up her other books and I found Verity on Kindle, and then right after that I read Ugly Love on my Kindle, and then I was down on Colleen Loophole. I read Heartbones, I read Hopeless, and I think I read Regretting You, all on my Kindle. So now I have to see which ones were Kindle Unlimited, because at that time I'm pretty sure Verity was, Ugly Love wasn't, Heartbones might have been, and now I'm like confused because I don't really know. Verity is not Kindle Unlimited. Regretting You is. Okay, so I did read Regretting You on my Kindle. This isn't my favorite Colleen book. I feel like it's more of like a mother-daughter story, but like mixed in with some romances, and you get their point of views, which is different from like other ones that I read by her. Basically this is about, oh yeah, okay, so the mom ended up having the daughter at like 17, and then something happened to the father and the husband obviously, and then the daughter brings home a boy who reminds the mom of like what she was doing and her mistake, not mistakes, having the child, but like having a child so young. It's kind of reminding her, and there's like lack of communication between them, and it's just like they kind of butt heads a lot. It was good. I remember that being a really good read on my Kindle. Oh, Heartbones is Kindle Unlimited. This is one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books. This one, Hopeless, and November 9th, I believe, are my favorites. As of right now, kind of changes how I'm feeling. Heartbones is so good. It's about Bea, who lives with her mother, but her mother ends up dying. This isn't like any crazy news, but right in the beginning, and she's very poor. They live in a trailer park, and she has like nowhere to go, so she calls her father, who lives in a really nice house with his new wife and stepdaughter. She says, I'm coming for the summer, because then she has college, so she leaves, stays with him for the summer, doesn't say anything about the mom or anything, and she strikes up this friendship with this stepdaughter. She didn't expect to make friends and be friendly with them, and then the stepsister, I think her name is Sarah, actually introduces her to her boyfriend and his friend Samson. There's like nothing in common between the two of them, but for some reason they connect, and there's just like, the story is so great, and like unexpected things happen. It's a really good book. I loved this one. I don't really see it too often. I mean, I do see it, but like not compared to the other popular ones by Colleen. And then I read Hopeless. That's the last one I read on my Kindle by Colleen. Oh, it's Kindle Unlimited. If you haven't read this book, I need you to find your Kindle and download it right now. It's free, and it's my favorite Colleen Hoover book ever. I love this book so much. I just recently read, you've already Hopeless, and then you could read it in Holder's point of view, the main guy, right after losing hope. I loved it so much. I just recently read it. I gave it 5 stars. Oh my god, it was so good. But basically, Hopeless is about Sky meets Holder, and Holder kind of has this weird thing for her, and she's like, why is he obsessed with me? Why is he coming near me? They end up hanging out. Her mom is really strict, doesn't allow television, so all she does is go on run Sky. But Holder and her end up connecting. They end up dating, and then things just go crazy. So good. Can't even say much without giving it away, but you just have to trust me on this one. Please read it if you haven't. Literally one of my favorite Colleen books ever, so you need to read it. Then I have Darling Venom. This is one of my favorite books of all time. 5-star read that was so unexpectedly thrown in my face, because I was filming a video. It didn't end up happening, but I was planning, I guess, on filming a video of going on Goodreads and seeing all of the books on my TBR list and all the ones that were rated really high to read. And this one had like literally almost 5 stars rating on Goodreads, so I was like, this is one of the books I'm gonna read. So it was Kindle Unlimited. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna download it, read it there. It was very long, and I was like, ugh, I'm really gonna get through this. So good. So good. I am obsessed with this book, and I ended up buying the paperback. That's how good it was. But it's about Kellen and Charlie. They meet when they're younger, and they meet on the rooftop of their school building, and they make a pact to meet there once a year. They don't talk to each other during the year. They go to the same school, but they meet there once a year. And on the last year, they were gonna do it until they graduated, but the last year Kellen doesn't show up, or Kellen shows up, but something happens, and then it kind of flash forwards to the future, and you kind of saw them connecting through those times. So good. And then in the future, she's older, she has a job, she runs an errand for her boss, and ends up at the doctor's office of this guy named Tate. She walks in, she makes eye contact with Tate, and she realizes it's Kellen's brother. So that happens, then they go back and forth. It doesn't start off as a romance between them, but then he realizes that Charlie knew his brother when something happened to him. So yeah, they end up talking, enemies to lovers between them, but it's so good. This book just like stands for so many good things, and then it also has a romance in it. It has like so many great storylines. I love this book so much. So good. These are a few old ones, but they are Kindle Unlimited, so I'm gonna recommend them. First one I've talked about so many times on my channel was Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This is not for everyone, but it is an age gap romance between, I always forget their name. The main character is dating this guy. They're living together, but they have to move into his father's house because they can't live there anymore. In the beginning of the book, she is waiting for him to pick her up. It's her birthday. She ends up going to the movie theater, just waiting for him. He's not answering the phone, and then meets this guy there. They talk, kind of low-key celebrate her birthday, and then she ends up leaving. So they move into the father's house and realize that this father is the one that she met at the movie theater. So it's like, oh my god, yeah, the boyfriend's never there. Horrible boyfriend. So she has nothing else to do, spends her time with father, and then things just happen, and I think it's to a point of view, and I remember really enjoying it. Age gap doesn't really bother me as long as it's done right. This one I really enjoyed, and Penelope Douglas is just a crazy writer. Like, their storylines are insane. I've only read like 2-3 of her books at this point, I think, maybe 2, but this is my favorite one by them, so I recommend if you like age gap. And then is Thousand Boy Kisses. I've talked about this also on my channel. This is a young adult romance, so if you don't like young adult, if it cringes you out sometimes, don't read this because you'll probably be cringed out. But I enjoyed it. I went into it kind of blind, so I had no idea what was going to happen. I ended up literally, this is a one book. I mean, I've cried over other books, but this book I literally still feel pains from it. But basically it's about Rune and, why am I forgetting the name? I always forget names, I'm so bad. But they are childhood friends. They live next door to each other when they're very young. They're connected. They are just really cute. And when they're younger, the main character's grandmother is dying, and her last thing that she gives to her is a little jar of little heart things, 1,000 little papers, and write down when you feel like a real true kiss. So she has that. The start of the book was sad, but they connect and whatever, and then he has to go back to his home country. I don't know where he's from for a few years, but he says like, wait for me, whatever, come back. He comes back and she just like doesn't talk to him, and he's like a whole changed person. But like then she ends up telling him what happened while he was gone, and the rest of the book is just torture. Not actual torture, it's a really good book, but like painful. It's really like, it hurts you. That's a good one if you want to go to cry, and it's young adult, so it's like a really easy read. And then the last one I have is more of a recent read I read a few months ago. Is The Infinity Between Us by N.S. Perkins. Another childhood friends to lovers. If you like Love in Other Words, Every Summer After, books like that, this is kind of like the same vibe. It's basically about the main character. She goes back to their family shared beach house between her and the main guy character, like their family friends. Something happened between the families and they never use the house again, so she goes back there because her father wants her to like clear it out, sell it. She ends up going, and he's there, and he's there because he wants to keep the house. He tells her, spend the rest of the summer here. If you still want to sell it by the end of the summer, do it. Obviously they end up like talking through the whole thing, and I just didn't expect the reason why they stopped talking. And I love this one because the reason wasn't really about them, you know, like that was like my favorite part. You kind of get glimpses through the book of what happened, but you kind of get like a foreshadowing. You kind of can get hints of what you think happened, and I liked this one. I thought this one felt realistic. I really enjoyed it. And you guys know I'm a sucker for childhood friends to strangers to lovers when there's a little animosity between them, and they were stuck in that house together, so it's forced proximity, and I loved it. But those are all my Kindle Unlimited recs that I have enjoyed, and I think you guys might enjoy as well. I've talked about almost all these on my channel anyway, so this might have been a little repetitive, but if you have a Kindle and you're looking for more Kindle Unlimited reads, these are like some of my favorites. So if you haven't read them, definitely check them out if they sound at least a little interesting to you. I kind of am upset that I read like Ugly Love, Verity, and like a lot of Colleen books on my Kindle because like I want the paperbacks of them. I still haven't gotten them, but if they're Kindle Unlimited, why not? You know, you're paying monthly for it and it's a free book, so I highly recommend. If you guys enjoyed, I hope this helped you guys some insight into the Kindles if you want to get one. If you have any more questions, oh my god, the sun is going away. Anyway, if you have any more questions about a Kindle, or if you're interested about anything with the Kindle, you can comment, you can DM me, and let me know. I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you did. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you hopefully in the next one. Bye!